If someone had told me that the same woman I married years ago, the one who once clung to me with love in her eyes, would one day break me in ways I couldn't even fathom, I would have laughed it off. But life has a cruel way of showing you just how blind you can be, how trusting you can be, even when everything around you whispers that something isn't right. 4 years, I worked tirelessly, building a business, a home, a future, always thinking I was building it for us. Every month, I sent her money, believing it was for our dreams, for our security, for the life we were meant to have. I never asked questions, never doubted her. She was my partner, my love, my everything. But then, it all crumbled. The business, my lifeblood, was gone in the blink of an eye. I stood there, staring at the ruins of everything I had worked for, unable to comprehend how it had slipped through my fingers. Desperation clawed at me as I turned to the one person I thought would always stand by my side. But when I came home, I didn't find the comfort I was expecting. I didn't find the woman I loved. Instead, I found a stranger, a woman whose eyes no longer held the warmth I had once seen there. Her indifference hit me like a punch to the gut. And in that silence, in that absence of concern, the truth hit me harder than anything else could. The money. The money I had sent her month after month, year after year. The money I believed was going toward our future, to the life we were supposed to build together. But it wasn't. It wasn't for us. And as I stood there, broken and betrayed, I realized the truth that had been right in front of me all along. The hardest truth of all. I had been pouring my soul into a future that didn't exist, trusting her, believing in her, while she had been building something else entirely. What was worse than the betrayal wasn't even the money, it was the realization that sometimes the people you love the most are the ones who can destroy you without a second thought. And in that moment, I knew, everything I had given had been in vain. Everything had been a lie. The taxi rolled through the familiar streets of Lagos, but nothing felt familiar anymore. Nnamdi pressed his face against the window, watching the unchanged landscape pass by, cracked roads, faded buildings, street vendors calling out their wares. 7 years. 7 years since he'd left this place, promising to return victorious. He had told no one he was coming. He wanted to surprise them. His parents, his siblings, Isabella. He imagined their faces, their joy, their gratitude. He had worked 16-hour days in Baltimore, sleeping in shared rooms, eating once a day, all to send money home. Every transfer felt like a brick in the foundation of their future. The taxi stopped in front of his parents' compound. Nnamdi stepped out, dragging his single suitcase behind him. He stood at the gate, staring. The walls were the same peeling yellow they'd been when he left. The roof still had that rusted patch near the corner. The wooden gate hung crooked on its hinges. He had sent money 2 years ago, enough to rebuild the entire structure. His mother had thanked him, said they would start renovations immediately. He knocked. Footsteps approached from inside. The gate creaked open. Chidinma stood there, his youngest sister. She was 19 now, or should have been in her 2nd year at university. But she wasn't in school. She was pregnant, visibly, heavily pregnant. Her face was gaunt, her eyes hollow. She wore a faded wrapper and a stained blouse. She looked at him. Her mouth opened slightly, then closed. "Chidinma," he said, smiling despite his confusion. "It's me. I'm home." She didn't smile back. She didn't rush into his arms. She didn't call for their mother. She stood there, one hand on the gate, the other resting on her swollen belly. Then she sighed, a long, tired sound, and turned away, leaving the gate open. Nnamdi walked in. The compound was smaller than he remembered, more cramped. Weeds pushed through cracks in the cement. A broken chair lay overturned near the doorway. He followed Chidinma inside. The sitting room was dim. His mother sat on the old couch, flanked by his two brothers, Emeka and Chukwudi. His other sister, Marvelous, sat on a wooden stool in the corner. They were talking in low voices, heads bent together. "Mama," Nnamdi said. No one looked up. "Mama, I'm back." His mother's hand paused mid-gesture. She didn't turn. She continued speaking to Emeka, her voice steady. "Where is Papa?" Nnamdi asked. Chidinma, settling back onto the couch, spoke without looking at him. "Backyard." Relief washed over him. "I'll go see him." He turned toward the back door, his heart pounding. He imagined his father's face, that wide grin, those calloused hands gripping his shoulders. "Papa. Papa, I'm back." His voice echoed across the small yard. Behind him, in the sitting room, the voices stopped. Silence filled the house like water flooding a sinking ship. His mother's breath caught. A tear slipped down her cheek. "If only he knew," she whispered. Nnamdi stepped into the backyard. The mango tree stood in the center, its branches heavy. Beneath it, the earth was freshly turned. A simple wooden cross marked the spot. Carved into it were the words, Okafor Felix, 1951 to 2023. Nnamdi's legs buckled. He stumbled forward, reaching for the cross, but his hands stopped inches away. His father. Dead. Buried here, beneath this tree, while he was thousands of miles away, sending money, believing everything was fine. He ran back inside. What happened? His voice cracked. "Why is Papa dead? When? Why didn't anyone tell me?" His mother finally looked at him. Her face was stone. "When did Chidinma get pregnant? Why is she not in school? Why is the house still?" "You should have gone to your family first," his mother said quietly. "What? Before coming here. You should have gone to your family first. You are my family." She shook her head. "As far as we are concerned, we are not your family." Nnamdi stared at her. "Mama, what are you?" But she had already turned away. Emeka and Chukwudi resumed their conversation, speaking about loan repayments, debt collectors, things Nnamdi didn't understand. Marvelous looked down at her hands. Chidinma closed her eyes. No one spoke to him. It was as if he wasn't there. He stood in the center of the room, arms hanging at his sides, waiting for someone to explain. But the silence stretched. He became invisible in his own home. Finally, he turned and walked out. The taxi ride to his house felt longer than it should have. Nnamdi kept replaying the scene, his father's grave, his mother's words, the cold indifference. Something was horribly wrong. But Isabella would explain. She would help him understand. The afternoon sun beat down on the windshield. Sweat gathered at his collar. The driver hummed along to the radio, oblivious to the storm building inside his passenger. When the taxi stopped, Nnamdi saw his house from the street. It looked different, better. The walls were freshly painted a soft cream color. The gate was new, black iron with gold accents. Flowers lined the walkway. Solar panels gleamed on the roof. This was the house he had bought before leaving, a modest structure in a decent neighborhood. But it looked transformed, like something from a magazine. He paid the driver and approached. Two children played in the front yard, a boy and a girl, maybe 4 and 6 years old. They wore expensive clothes, clean and bright. The girl had ribbons in her hair. They were too young. When he left, he and Isabella had one son, Samuel, who was 5 then. He would be 12 now. These children weren't his. A garden had been planted where there used to be bare earth. Roses. Hibiscus. A small fountain bubbled near the entrance. He knocked on the gate. A guard opened it, eyeing him suspiciously. The man wore a crisp uniform, a walkie-talkie clipped to his belt. "I'm here to see Isabella. I'm her husband." The guard's eyebrows rose. He looked Nnamdi up and down, the wrinkled shirt, the cheap shoes, the single battered suitcase. "Wait here." The guard closed the gate in his face. Minutes passed. Nnamdi heard voices inside. Then the gate opened again. "She says you can come in." Nnamdi entered his compound. Everything had changed. The driveway was paved now. 2 cars sat parked, a Range Rover and a Mercedes. Both new. Both expensive. Isabella stood near the doorway, arranging flowers in a crystal vase. She wore an expensive-looking Ankara dress, perfectly tailored, with gold jewelry at her wrists and neck. Her hair was styled in intricate braids that must have taken hours. She looked up. She froze. Her face went pale. The vase slipped from her hands but didn't break. She caught it at the last second, her fingers trembling. Behind her, a man appeared, tall, well-dressed, confident. He wore a designer watch and Italian shoes. He placed a hand on Isabella's shoulder, a possessive gesture. "Who is this?" the man asked. Isabella opened her mouth. Closed it. Her eyes darted between Nnamdi and the man. Her breathing quickened. "His." She looked at Nnamdi, then at the man. "He's the laundryman. He came for payment." The words hit Nnamdi like a physical blow. He staggered back a step. "What?" "Yes," Isabella said, her voice steadying. "You came last week about the clothes. I told you I'd pay you today." The man beside her relaxed. "Oh. Well, pay him and let him go. We have guests coming at 7. Nnamdi's hands trembled. "Isabella, who is this man?" The man stepped forward, his chest puffing out. "I'm Felix. Her husband." "Who are you to ask questions in my house?" "Your house." Nnamdi's voice rose. "This is my house. Isabella is my wife." Felix turned to Isabella, his expression darkening. His jaw tightened. "What is he talking about?" "I don't know." Isabella's voice was cold now, flat. She wouldn't meet Nnamdi's eyes. "I've never seen him before except for the laundry service. He has the wrong address. Maybe he's confused." "Isabella," Nnamdi stepped forward. "Security," she called. The guard appeared, this time with another man. Both approached Nnamdi. "I don't know this man," Isabella said, her voice firm. "He's confused. Please remove him." "Wait," Nnamdi said, desperation creeping into his voice. He looked at the children playing in the yard. "Where is Samuel? Where is our son?" Felix frowned. "Who is Samuel?" "Isabella, who is he talking about?" "I have no idea." She turned away, back to her flowers. "Please get him out of here before the neighbors see." Isabella reached into her purse, pulled out a bundle of bills, and threw them at Nnamdi. 50,000 naira scattered at his feet, some bills landing in the dirt. "Take this and leave. Don't come back. If you do, I'll call the police." The guards grabbed Nnamdi's arms. He tried to pull away, tried to reach for Isabella, but they were stronger. He was dragged backward, through the gate, onto the street. The gate slammed shut. He heard the lock click. Nnamdi stood there, breathing hard, staring at the closed gate. Cars passed. People walked by, some glancing at him curiously. Life continued. But his had stopped. He bent down and gathered the money from the ground. His hands shook so badly he could barely grip the bills. The taxi driver glanced at him in the rearview mirror as they drove back toward his parents' compound. Nnamdi said nothing. His mind was a storm. Isabella had remarried. She had called him a laundryman. Denied him completely. His father was dead. His family wouldn't speak to him. What had happened? 7 years. He had given 7 years to building a life he thought they shared. Every dollar earned through brutal labor, cleaning offices, stocking warehouses, working double shifts. He remembered the cold Baltimore winters, walking to work at 4 in the morning because he couldn't afford the bus. The meals of rice and beans, eaten alone in a tiny room with 3 other men. The exhaustion that settled into his bones. All of it, he had thought, was for them. For Isabella. For Samuel. For his family. At his parents' house, he went straight to his old room. No one stopped him. No one acknowledged him. He closed the door and lay on the thin mattress, staring at the ceiling. His body was here, but his mind was somewhere else, trying to piece together a puzzle he didn't yet understand. The room was exactly as he'd left it. His old school certificates hung on the wall, dusty and forgotten. A photo of him and his father, taken years ago, sat on the windowsill. His father's smile was wide in that picture, proud. Voices drifted through the walls. His family was in the sitting room, their conversation carrying through the thin partition. "We told him to send money directly to us," his mother said. "But he gave everything to that woman. Everything. I hate him, Mama." Chidinma's voice was thick with bitterness. "I will never forgive him for what he did. Never. It hurts me," Emeka said. "I warned him. I called him so many times, begged him. But all he said was, 'My wife will take care of you. My wife will handle it. Trust her.' And now look at us. He killed Papa," Chidinma sobbed. "Even after everything Papa did for him, he let him die like a nobody. Like trash." Chukwudi's voice was quieter but sharp with anger. "Papa went to that woman. Got on his knees and begged her. And she threw him out. Told him Nnamdi didn't care about us anymore. The shame killed him," Marvelous added. "The debt collectors coming every day. The neighbors watching. Papa couldn't take it." Nnamdi pressed his palms against his eyes. The room spun. Later that night, a knock came at his door. His mother entered without waiting for an answer. She sat on the edge of the bed, her back to him. The mattress sagged under her weight. She was thinner than he remembered, her shoulders sharp beneath her wrapper. "You went to see your wife, didn't you?" she said. "The same woman you worshipped. The woman you put before your own blood." Nnamdi said nothing. "I am disappointed in you, Nnamdi. More than you will ever know." She turned to face him. Her eyes were dry now, but the pain in them was unbearable. Deep lines marked her face, lines that hadn't been there 7 years ago. "Your father and I sold our properties to send you abroad. The land in Enugu. The shop on Balogun Street. We borrowed money we didn't have from people we'd known our whole lives. And when you finally made it, when you started earning, what did you do?" Nnamdi's throat tightened. "You sent everything to her. You told us she would distribute it. She would help us. She would take care of the family. But she didn't. She kept it. Every single kobo." "No," Nnamdi whispered. "That's not." "Your father went to her," his mother continued, her voice breaking. 3 times. 3 times, Nnamdi. He begged. He told her about the debt collectors, about Chidinma needing school fees, about the medical bills. And she laughed at him. Told him you had moved on. That you didn't want to hear from us anymore. Tears spilled down Nnamdi's face. Your father had a heart attack right there in that backyard, clutching his chest, calling your name. And you weren't here. You were sending money to the woman who killed him. Mama. Chidinma dropped out of school. A man came, promised her a better life, got her pregnant, and left. She's 19, Nnamdi. 19 and already broken. His mother's voice grew harder. Marvelous couldn't continue her education. She works as a housemaid now for a family in Lekki. They treat her badly, but she has no choice. Emeka's business collapsed because the loan sharks came and took everything. Chukwudi worked 5 years for his boss, and when payment was due, they accused him of stealing. He has nothing. He sits in this house every day, staring at the wall. His mother stood. We used the money we borrowed to send you abroad. We paid with our lives. And you repaid us by choosing her over us. I didn't know, Nnamdi choked out. I swear I didn't know. You didn't ask. You didn't check. Every time we tried to tell you, you defended her. You trusted her more than you trusted us. Your own mother. She walked to the door, paused with her hand on the frame. Your wife took everything, Nnamdi. Look at her family now. They are thriving. Her parents moved to Ikoyi. Her brother drives a new car. Her sister opened a boutique. You built their empire while your own family crumbled to dust. Where is Samuel? Nnamdi asked quietly. Where is my son? His mother's shoulders sagged. She sent him to her grandmother in the village. Felix's family wouldn't accept a child from another man. Bad for their image. So she abandoned him like he was nothing. She used your money to upgrade her life, to marry into wealth, to become the woman Felix wanted. And you made it all possible. The door closed behind her. Nnamdi lay in the darkness, his mother's words echoing. He thought of all the phone calls over the years. His mother asking when he would visit. His father's voice, growing weaker each time. Emeka mentioning problems, always cut short when Nnamdi said he had to go. The hints. The silences. He had ignored them all. Believed Isabella when she said everything was fine. Believed her when she showed him receipts, though now, thinking back, he realized he'd never actually verified them. Never asked his family directly if they'd received what they needed. He had been so certain of her love. So sure of her loyalty. And that certainty had destroyed everything. The next morning, Nnamdi took a bus to the village. His mother had given him the address, reluctantly, with no warmth. Just a slip of paper pressed into his hand. The journey took 3 hours. The roads were rough, unpaved in places. The bus rattled and groaned, packed with travelers and market women carrying baskets of yams and plantains. Children cried. Someone's radio played gospel music. Nnamdi stared out the window, watching the landscape change from city to farmland. Red earth. Cassava fields. Villages with tin roofs. When he arrived, he asked for directions and found a small mud house at the edge of the village, surrounded by banana trees. The compound was swept clean but bare. No electricity lines ran to it. Children played in the dirt yard. One of them, a boy, about 12, thin and barefoot, kicked a deflated football with the others. He wore torn shorts and a shirt that was too small, the sleeves ending above his elbows. His knees were scraped. His hair was unkempt. Nnamdi approached slowly, his heart hammering. An old woman sat on a wooden bench in the shade, fanning herself with a piece of cardboard. She looked up as he neared. Her face was weathered, her eyes sharp. "Are you Nnamdi?" she asked. "Yes, Ma. I've been expecting you." She gestured toward the boy. "That's Samuel." Nnamdi's legs almost gave out. He walked toward his son, this child he hadn't seen in 7 years. Samuel glanced at him, curious but wary, then returned to his game. He didn't recognize his father. "Samuel," Nnamdi said softly. The boy looked up again, confused. "I'm your father." Samuel blinked. The other children stopped playing. Silence filled the yard. They stared at Nnamdi, then at Samuel, waiting. Samuel's face showed no recognition. No joy. Just confusion. The old woman came over. "Come inside." They sat in the dim interior. The woman poured water from a clay pot into 2 cups. The room smelled of firewood and dried fish. "Your son is happy here," she said. "He has friends. He plays. He goes to the village school. He doesn't know anything else." "Why is he here?" Nnamdi asked, though he already knew. "My granddaughter abandoned him. She comes once in a while, maybe every 3 or 4 months. Dresses him in nice clothes, takes photos to send to you, then leaves again. She never stays more than an hour." Nnamdi clenched his fists. "I don't understand your choices," the woman continued. "Why did you give your wife control over everything? Look at your family's condition. Look at your son. What did you see in my granddaughter that made you trust her so completely?" "I loved her." "Love doesn't mean blindness." The woman shook her head. "Your father died because of your decisions. You gave your life to someone who only cared about herself. And now you come here, expecting what? Forgiveness." Nnamdi said nothing. "Samuel asks about you sometimes. Where his father is. Why you never visit. I tell him you're working far away. But he's stopped asking now. He's given up." Outside, the children resumed playing. Their laughter drifted through the open door. Samuel's voice rose above the others, calling for the ball. "Take him if you want," the woman said. "But know that you're taking him from the only stability he's ever known. You weren't there before. Can you promise you'll be there now?" Nnamdi brought Samuel back to Lagos. The boy sat quietly in the bus, staring out the window, his small bag of belongings clutched in his lap. He didn't ask questions. Didn't speak. Just watched the world pass by with eyes that seemed older than 12. At the compound, his mother took Samuel in without a word. She led him to the back room, gave him food, touched his face gently. But when Nnamdi tried to apologize again, she cut him off. "Apologizing won't bring back your father. It won't restore what we lost." Emeka stood in the doorway, arms crossed. "You destroyed this family, Nnamdi. We needed you, and you chose her. You chose a stranger over your own blood." Chidinma wouldn't even look at him. She sat on the couch, one hand on her belly, and turned her face away when he approached. Chukwudi spoke quietly from the corner. "We called you, brother. So many times. Told you something was wrong. But you never listened. You said we were jealous of your wife. That we didn't understand love." "I'm sorry," Nnamdi said again. "Sorry doesn't pay Papa's debts," Emeka said. "Sorry doesn't give Chidinma her future back. Sorry doesn't undo anything." That night, lying in his room, Nnamdi made a decision. He would expose Isabella. He would ruin her marriage the way she had ruined his life. It wouldn't fix anything, wouldn't bring his father back, wouldn't restore what was lost. But it was the only thing left he could do. Some part of him still believed that if she suffered too, the pain might lessen. He was wrong about that, as he'd been wrong about everything else. But he didn't know it yet. The next day, he returned to his house, to what was now Felix's house. The gate was locked. He banged on it, shouting Isabella's name. The neighbors came to their windows. People stopped on the street to watch. Felix came out, irritated but curious. His expensive watch caught the sunlight. "What do you want?" "I need to talk to you." "About what?" "About your wife." Felix studied him. Something in Nnamdi's tone, the desperation, the anger, made him pause. "Come in." They sat in the lavish sitting room, leather couches, marble floors, a chandelier hanging from the ceiling. Everything Nnamdi's money had bought. Artwork on the walls. A flat-screen television. Air conditioning humming softly. Felix poured whiskey into crystal glasses. He didn't offer one to Nnamdi. "You were at university together, weren't you?" Nnamdi asked. "You and Isabella?" Felix nodded. "Yes. Unilag. But she was poor then. Always pretending to be something she wasn't. Borrowing clothes, claiming her parents had money. Everyone knew the truth. I never paid her any mind. She always wanted you." Felix raised an eyebrow. "How do you know that?" "Because she told me. When we first met, she talked about you all the time. Said you were the kind of man she deserved." Felix set his glass down. Nnamdi pulled out his phone. He opened his photo gallery. Wedding photos, him and Isabella, smiling in traditional attire. Bank transfers, hundreds of them, dating back 7 years. Screenshots of messages. And photos of Samuel at different ages, some clearly taken in the village, others staged with Isabella posing beside him in expensive clothes. He handed the phone to Felix. Felix scrolled through slowly. His face changed, confusion, then anger, then something harder, more dangerous. "She told me she was single," Felix said quietly. "She said her father had government contracts, that's why she was wealthy. That her family was well connected. My parents accepted her because of that. Because of her supposed background. She abandoned her son to marry you." Felix set the phone down. His hands were shaking. "How much money did you send her?" "Everything I made. For 7 years. And she used it to," Felix looked around the room, understanding dawning. "To become someone else. She built herself into the woman you wanted. Using my life." Felix stood abruptly. "Get out. You needed to know. Get out." Felix's voice rose. "Now. Before I do something I'll regret." Nnamdi left. As he walked out, he saw Isabella's car pulling into the compound. She saw him. Their eyes met through the windshield. She knew. That evening, Isabella came home to find Felix waiting in the sitting room. The lights were off. He sat in the darkness, his glass of whiskey untouched on the table. "We need to talk," he said. She set her purse down slowly. "About what?" He turned on a lamp. Held up his phone, showing her the photos Nnamdi had sent him. "Do you have a child?" he asked. "No." "Were you married?" "No." He showed her the wedding photo. "Is this fake?" "It's Photoshop. That man is obsessed with me. Look at me and tell me the truth." She met his eyes. For a moment, she wavered. Her lip trembled. Then her face hardened into something cold and unfamiliar. "It's not real. That man is crazy. He's been stalking me for years. He's trying to ruin us because I rejected him." Felix wanted to believe her. But doubt had taken root, spreading like poison through everything they'd built together. "My parents want to meet with us tomorrow," he said quietly. They received the same photos. Isabella's face went pale. That night, Isabella called Nnamdi. Her voice was ice. "Stay away from my marriage. Or what? I will destroy you worse than you've already been destroyed." "You already did that, Isabella. There's nothing left to take. This is just the beginning, Nnamdi. Stay away from me. Stay away from Felix. Or you'll regret it." "No. I want you to feel what I felt. What my family felt. You did this to yourself. You were weak. You trusted like a fool. I loved you. That was your mistake." She hung up. Nnamdi sat in his room, phone in his hand, and realized something. Destroying her wouldn't heal him. It wouldn't bring anything back. But he no longer cared. A week later, Isabella's car was hit by a truck on Third Mainland Bridge. The accident happened in broad daylight. Witnesses said she was driving erratically, distracted. The truck driver couldn't stop in time. She survived, but her left arm was crushed beyond repair, bones shattered, nerves destroyed. The doctors tried for 6 hours to save it. In the end, they had no choice. The amputation was quick, surgical, final. Felix's parents found out everything while she was in the hospital. Nnamdi had sent them the evidence directly, a package containing printed photos, bank statements, even a copy of the original marriage certificate. When Isabella was discharged, Felix was waiting at the house with his parents and a lawyer. They stood in the sitting room, her sitting room, the one she'd built with Nnamdi's money, and Felix held out divorce papers. "You lied to me," he said. His voice was flat, emotionless. "About everything. Your family. Your past. Your child." "Felix, please." Isabella's remaining hand reached for him. He stepped back. "My parents know. Our friends know. The church knows. Everyone knows what you did. You abandoned your child. You stole from your husband's family while they suffered. You're not the woman I married. You never were. I did it for us," she said desperately. "I became the woman you wanted. I wanted someone real. You're just a lie wrapped in expensive clothes." Within a month, Isabella was gone from the house. She returned to her parents, who took her in but couldn't hide their disappointment. Their shame. The wealth she had built was tied to Felix, to his family name, to the connections marriage had brought. Without him, it crumbled like sand. She was left with one arm, no husband, no child, and the weight of her choices pressing down on her every morning when she woke. But Nnamdi's victory was hollow. He couldn't recover his money. The properties Isabella had bought were in her name, then transferred to Felix during the marriage. The lawyers he consulted all said the same thing. Too much time had passed, too many legal complications, no real proof of where specific funds went. His father was still dead. His family still hated him. He found a job at a shipping company in Apapa, low-level work, logging inventory, barely enough to survive. The manager who hired him did so reluctantly, seeing a man with years missing from his resume and desperation in his eyes. He rented a room in Mushin, a cramped space that smelled of mildew. One window. A shared bathroom. The landlord demanded payment upfront. Each month, he sent money home. Not much, just what he could spare. But his mother refused it every time. "The damage is done," she said when he called. "When we needed you, you gave it to someone else. We don't need your guilt money now." His siblings wouldn't speak to him. Chidinma had her baby, a girl, and refused to let Nnamdi visit. Emeka found work as a taxi driver, starting over from nothing. Chukwudi still sat at home most days, something broken inside him that might never heal. Even Samuel, though living with his grandmother now, looked at Nnamdi like a stranger when he visited. The boy was polite, respectful, but distant. The connection that should have existed between father and son had never formed, and it was too late now to build it. Marvelous sent him a message once, short and painful: "You chose her over us. That choice can't be unmade. Please stop trying to fix what you destroyed." Nnamdi sat alone in his rented room one evening, staring at the cracked ceiling. Rain pounded on the tin roof. Water dripped through a leak in the corner, forming a puddle he'd learned to place a bucket under. He had achieved nothing. His revenge hadn't healed him. It had only added another layer of guilt, because part of him had wanted Isabella hurt, had felt satisfaction when he heard about the accident, and that darkness in his heart shamed him. His apologies hadn't mattered. Words couldn't rebuild what he'd destroyed. He had trusted without question. He had loved without seeing. He had put his wife before the people who had sacrificed everything for him, who had sold their future to buy his. And in doing so, he had destroyed them all. Some mistakes, he realized, cannot be undone. Some wounds never heal. Some families, once broken, can never be made whole again. His mother was right. There are things that can't be fixed. Forgiveness that can't be earned. Time that can't be recovered.